Okay, so right now we in the mystery box, if we go down, we can see we are basically defining, all of our firearm data assets right inside the box. And like I had mentioned, I want to move this over to the project settings, which in turn is going to basically link a actor class to a data asset. So that's going to also have two effects. One, we can control, through a single basically place which firearms a mystery box has on what map. And two, we do not need to go through and actually, spawn a specific A firearm class. We can instead use the normal actor class and basically just, give it the type that we defined in the project settings. So to begin, we need those project settings. So in our SKG Zombies developer settings, let's head on down to the bottom and make a new entry for the mystery box. Now in here, we basically just want more or less an array of data. So what we want is basically a structure that is going to contain the level. So, in this case, notch, turn, totem. So which level, we want to, I guess you could say, have specific firearms on. And two, that structure is also going to contain an array of data assets. But these data assets also need to have a corresponding actor class with it. So we're going to have a T array, and we need to make a custom type. But let's go ahead and give this a variable name of, let's do mystery box level weapons. So we can scroll on up, make a new ustruct. Let's do struct. We can call it F mystery box level weapons. Have our generated body. And go ahead and add a U property. And this U property, first off, needs to be the level. So in our case, I want a T soft object pointer to a U world. So this is going to be the level. And this level is pretty much going to represent, say, Odster and Toten, or whatever other level, we may end up doing in the future if I get some help. So we can make it to where Notster and Toten has X firearms, and this other map has Y firearms. So now that we have the level, we also need a T array of basically weapons. So let's call this one a mystery box, or sorry, let's do let's just call it weapons. So we need another structure here. So let's make a new struct like so, and let's just call it mystery box. We'll do weapon. So first thing is we need the class of firearm. Now, given that we are basically going to be preloading these into memory, we're fine to go ahead and use a T subclass of, especially since we are actually going to be using a C++ base class pretty much as far as I can think of. Throughout this, we're not really going to be having any sort of hard reference, things being loaded into memory. So we'll do T subclass of a actor, and let's call this one, we'll just call it class. Now we want another entry that is a T object pointer, and this one will be of the type U primary data asset, and we'll call this one the definition. So we have the class to spawn and the data asset that defines it. So we can plug this in to our type here. So we have an array of F mystery box weapon. So now that we have that, we can copy that, head down to the bottom, and use that as the type for our mystery box level weapons. And in our case, we can remove the blueprint read only, which will also resolve the complaint there by the compiler, the Unreal header tool. Okay, so now that we have that, we just basically need a way to get it from the mystery box. So in begin play, we're iterating through all of our weapon data assets. We're no longer going to have these weapon data assets. We are instead basically going to have a T array of F mystery box weapon. So that's something to take into account. So in our developer settings, we need a getter in order to find, which one we need. So we're going to make a new function. And in our case, we can make it return. I guess we can just do a bool. And we'll make it output a T array of F mystery box weapon by reference, and let's call it weapons. So let's rename this one to get mystery box weapons. And the first parameter is going to be the world. So world. So we're basically going to pass in our current world. That's going to go through and iterate through this to see, okay, which level are we in? And from there, it's going to go ahead and find, okay, we're in Notster and Toten. Here's the weapons for that map, and just return it. So in get mystery box weapons, we need to make a new developer settings so we can access our array. And from here, we basically just need to loop over and check. So we're going to loop over the for, what was it, F mystery box level weapons. Let's do, actually, what was the type? Yeah, F mystery box level weapons. Let's call it level weapons in mystery box level weapons. Oh yeah, that's right, because we're in the data asset, or sorry, we're in the developer settings. We need to access it like so. So we now have access to, if we look, the level itself and the weapons. So we need to make sure the level matches up with the world. So I'm actually going to go through and quickly name that to world instead of level and do our check. So basically, if the level weapons dot world is valid. So test at this points to a live world. So, well, not a live world, but a live pointer, basically a valid U object. Because in our case, if this is false, then whatever level we're checking in here is simply not loaded into memory. And because we're in the world, it must be loaded into memory. So that's kind of a good indicator that, hey, this is the correct world. So regardless, though, we want to check if that is valid first. And just to confirm, to make sure world equals level weapons.world.get. So we can make sure they both point to the same object, or of the same type, more or less, I guess you could say. Once we have that, we can first off return true because we have found it. If we did not, we're going to return false. And in our case, we want to set weapons to equal level weapons.weapons, like so. So that takes care of this function for the most part. And we can also make this a const since we're just more or less returning information. So once we have that, let's head to our mystery box, go to begin play, and we want to try to fetch it. So we have the function get mystery box weapons. So USKG zombies developer settings, get mystery box weapons. We're going to pass in the world. And then we need to output an array of weapons. So for now, we're just going to do T array of F mystery box level weapons and call it weapons. I did the wrong type. F mystery, what was it called? F mystery box weapon. There we go. So here's our weapons. And in our case, I want to print out the length. So UE log temp, warning, text, weapons, and weapons.num. So that way I can go ahead and close out of the editor, recompile, and relaunch, and then we can set it up in the project settings and make sure we're actually returning, what we think we are. All right, back in the editor, let's go to our project settings and find our mystery box section, and we can add an entry. So the first thing being the world, which in our case would be the Notster and Toten, and we need an entry for our weapon. So the class in our case is going to be firearm, and then we can have the, say, STG as the first entry. Let's add one more and do the BAR. So we have the STG and BAR, so we should have a total of 2. So let's press play and check the log, which we have weapons 2, meaning it found it. Now, as a quick test, I want to change the level to, say, shapes filter. Try it again just to make sure, because we should have 0, which we do. So that's good. It means it is finding the correct world, which, I mean, with our logic, it kind of makes sense. So now that we have that, we need to go ahead and set up our mystery box to make use of these weapons. So in our case, let's go to our header, find our primary data asset array, and we're basically going to change this to F mystery box weapon. So we have a T array of F mystery box weapon. And we can go ahead and just include it as well. And we're going to change this one from weapon data assets to weapons. Right, let's see. And we also don't want it to actually be blueprint either, which is a good point. And we are good to go. So in our CPP, we can remove this line. And I also want to go ahead and check this. So const, let's do bool b found weapons and do a check. So check f. Actually, we don't really need to do a check f. Let's do a ensure message f and on b found weapons. So if this is false, what we want to do is say no weapons found for level. And let's do get world get name. All right, let's clean this up a bit. So no weapons found, or I guess no level found for that in mystery box. Like so. All right, so once we have that, let's go down. So we have our asset IDs. We need to reserve weapons.num instead. And instead of iterating over weapons data assets, let's iterate over weapons and change the type from primary data asset to F mystery box weapon. And let's call it weapon. So we can do weapon dot definition get primary asset ID. Okay, let's go down to here. We have our weapons data asset dot num, change it to weapons. And we're going to fix that up here in a second as well. We have another weapons dot num and same thing, weapons down here. All right, so we have to fix this get weapon mesh from data asset. So on weapons at this index, we want to fetch the definition and do the same thing here. So selected weapon data asset equals weapon. And instead of doing the data asset, I want to change the selected weapon data asset to selected weapon and change the type to the F mystery box weapon. So that way we have the appropriate type. And I also need to do what exactly? Oh, and it is no longer a T object pointer as well. So we have our selected weapon. We can change selected weapon data asset. So basically every entry of it to selected weapon and start from the top and just work our way down to fix it. So here in our tick, we have our get weapon mesh from data asset of the type selected weapon. So we want to grab the definition from that, scroll on down, and where we are printing the name, we're going to do dot data asset, get name to resolve that for the log, and set construction data asset being on, well, selected weapon, which we need to replace. So this will be selected weapon dot definition. However, we don't want to be using this a firearm class any longer. But for the time being, I want to go ahead and just give this a try. So I'm going to close out of the editor, recompile, relaunch, and just make sure everything we have currently is still functional. Okay, so once we are back in the editor, we are basically no longer using that array. As you can see, we no longer have the data asset entries. Everything is still in here. So we should see it cycle through the mystery box itself. Whoops. Okay, so we did hit our ensure. No level found for Notchster and Toten in mystery box. So our assertion was hit. However, I don't believe that to actually be correct. So let's check the assertion. So that was in begin play right here. Let's check the function. So we return true when we set weapons to level weapons.weapons. Okay, that's correct. And this should be returning true. So what I want to see, make sure, oh, that's right, we set it to shapes filter. Let's set it to Notchster and Toten instead. So save that and press play. And when we buy the box, we should have the BAR and STG, which we do. We only have those two because we only have those two entered. So that is correct. All right, I'm actually going to change this to a ensure message. Oh, was it always? Ensure always message F, and that will basically always print it out in the case of, be found weapons being false. So that way, instead of just happening once, it'll happen every single time until the issue is corrected. So we are now reading from basically everything that we need to from the project settings. Now we just want to go ahead and swap this out to basically use the normal A actor class. So A actor, and we're going to cast to the type of actor. And if we look here, one of the params is a actual class of which to spawn. So in our case, that's going to be the selected weapon dot class. So that'll actually spawn the right class, just casting it to the actor type. And from there, we can set the data asset. So we need to access the interface that we're using to do this for. So let's go ahead and let me find out. I can't remember if we have our own or not. Let me check. Okay, so we do not have our own. We're still using the SKG actor construction interface, which is fine. So that just means in the mystery box module, we need to add a dependency to the SKG. I believe it's the attachment. Yeah, SKG attachment. So we need the SKG attachment module. And once we have that, we can then go ahead and include this. So let's include that interface. Remove the dependency on the firearm. So SKG actor construction interface. Head down here, and we want to cast it to, well, that interface. So if I SKG actor construction interface equals cast I SKG actor construction interface from weapon, we know that we can then simply set the construction data asset, passing in the selected weapon's definition. And from here, we can basically just cut and paste. Now, to be safe, I don't really want to have to check it because then we're going to have an actor that, spawned that we may not know about. That just isn't working. So we're going to remove actually the if statement. And just do a same thing, a check F on actor construction interface. And cannot. All right, let's do a weapon does not implement the ISKG actor construction interface. And we just need to do weapon get name. And that'll tell us exactly which actor is basically not implementing it. Okay, so we have that. We have our payload. Let's go ahead and give this a try to make sure, and then we can remove any dependency that we need on the A firearm class itself. All right, go ahead and press play. Buy the box. Weapons are cycling, and we grab it, and we now have our STG. So, real quick, check 2 clients, which honestly we should be fine regardless. And we seem to be. So can't buy it from this, or can't grab it, but we can grab it from the original buyer. And everything seems okay. So with that out of the way, let's go to our mystery box module and remove the dependency on the weapon module. So once we do that, go ahead and close out of the editor and recompile just to make sure that we removed any includes and that kind of stuff from it. And then from there, we can go ahead and finish this video off by resetting up the firearms in the project settings. Okay, so that built just fine, meaning we are good to go. Let's go ahead and relaunch, go to our project settings, and add the remaining firearm entries for the mystery box. Okay, once we're back in the editor, project settings, we can go ahead and just copy one of these. So we have the STG, BAR, Thompson, and 1911. And we're actually going to remove the 1911 from the box. So we need the A firearm and then the Thompson for the data asset. So we should now have all three of our firearms exposed. So Thompson, STG, and BAR, just like so. All right, so that alteration is now finished, and I'd say we are good to go. We can remove any additional logs. So we log and finish. So with that out of the way, I will see you in the next one where we can continue with more or less some of the, I guess you could say, smaller details of the box to, I guess, more or less wrap it up. So I will see you then. If you like what I'm doing and you want to help support me, you can find a link to my Patreon in the description below, where you can also get early access to this entire series.